Hey everyone, it's Anirudh from 61BL. Today we're going to be reviewing midterm 1, specifically question 7. And this particular video is going to focus on part A. So this question has to deal with containers. I have the PrairieLearn open that you probably saw during the exam, but for these questions, I'm going to go ahead and be using a PDF version instead. So let's take a look at what the question is asking. There's this nice little paragraph here. We see some skeleton code, and then there's part B. So let's go ahead and read through this. We have a container abstract class with an abstract method pour and a method drain. We want to implement drain so that all liquid is drained from the container, and it's defined to be amount filled is set to 0. Okay, that looks pretty helpful. Return true if any liquid was drained and false otherwise. In other words, return true if and only if there's liquid in the container prior to the function being called. So I want to determine if I'm actually draining anything. And you may only add a maximum of 5 lines of code. Okay, nice. So I come over here, and the very first thing that I want to do is I want to determine what lines are sort of like the spec behind what I'm doing. And it looks like these 3 lines sort of determine that. This first line is saying that I want to set amount filled to 0. And amount filled is 0. Nice. So basically, we're changing the instance member amount filled of the class container. But that doesn't look to be enough for, well, IntelliJ picks up on it with the red squiggly line, but we have a Boolean return type of this method in the signature. And more importantly, we're told to return true if there's any liquid drained and false otherwise. Okay, well, that looks pretty simple. I guess I can just go ahead and return whether or not there's any liquid drained. So the way that we would know how much is in the bottle or in the container more accurately would be returning amount filled is greater than 0. Because if it's greater than 0, there was liquid. If it's equal to 0, then there isn't liquid. So that determines our true and false. But IntelliJ correctly determines that it's always going to be false. And the reason for this is that we're setting amount filled to 0 in the previous line. So let's say amount filled was 6. Well, we'd be setting amount filled to 0 in line 9, and then we'd be returning 0 greater than 0, which is false. So we'd always be returning false. Well, it seems like I have a pretty easy fix. What if I did return amount filled is greater than 0? Well, there seems to be a different error. I'll pause here and see if you can guess why. The issue is we don't actually reach this line. And I suppose I can delete this, although that wasn't really the error. But the issue is now we're just determining whether or not there's any liquid inside the container. We're not actually setting it to 0. So now we need some way to balance the two. And the trick is to store this, right? Make an observation as to whether or not the container had any liquid, then drain it, and then return from the method. So there's like 3 parts to it. And I guess the fix is I'm going to go ahead and create a Boolean variable. Let's call this answer. And then I'm going to return answer. And that completes part A. The way this works is we first make an observation, if you will, called answer. And the answer is a Boolean variable that stores whether or not there was any liquid prior to emptying it. And then we empty the container. There's no more liquid in it. And then finally, we return the answer. Seems a little convoluted, but that little demonstration that I just did showing why it didn't work the other way explains why.